So the other day I was sitting trying to come up with video ideas and couldn't really think of anything, and then I kind of thought, what if I went to Google, found bases of superhero action poses and things like that, and tried to fit my characters into those bases? Sounded like a pretty cool idea to me, so that's what I'm doing today. And I have not tried this at all. I have not even done any practice on this, so what you're going to be seeing in this video is going to be my first attempt at each of these. So I've chosen 4, one for Matchstick, Phoenix, TM, and Paradox, one of my villains that I haven't really showcased in a while. And I'm essentially going to be just trying to fit my characters into each of these bases from just random images that I found on Google. So we're gonna see how this goes, and hopefully it goes well. So up first here we have Matchstick. I've done him first for obvious reasons, but because he's the first one, I think he is the one that looks the most kind of off out of all of the 4 that I did. And that's not to say that I think it looks bad necessarily, but I do think that it ended up looking a little bit strange, and I don't entirely think that that is simply due to the fact that I was not used to drawing in this kind of style, which obviously I'm not, but I think it had something to do with how the base here that I chose was actually formatted. Now, many of you that have watched my channel for quite a while may know that Matchstick is typically more skinny, and I draw him like as more of a skinny person, and so doing him in this kind of like hulking, brutish more style or kind of look kind of made it just feel a little bit weird looking at him. And also I do think that another thing is in part to his head is a lot smaller than I would normally draw it, and that just kind of ended up making it look just a little bit strange to me. But that's not to say that I think it looks bad. I am very happy with how it ended up coming out. And also for him and Paradox, the image files that I chose were small, so they ended up being a little bit blurry or a little bit messy looking, but I don't think it detracts too terribly much from the actual result, which I am very happy with. I think the lighting is great, the pose is really cool, and overall I'm pretty happy with this. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. So here, without further ado, is Matchstick. So the next one I did here is Paradox, and Paradox is a character that I haven't really featured very much on the channel, but he's one of my favorite villains I've ever created, just because I think the concept of him is very cool, but that's just my own personal opinion, and obviously he is my character, so of course I'm going to think it's cool. But since I've featured him last on the channel, which I believe was for creating my channel banner for the 1-year anniversary of this channel, I have redesigned his character design to fit a little bit better with how I imagined him as a villain. I imagined him being more creepy and more stalkerish rather than just in-your-face attack and stuff, which obviously he has the powers to do that, but he chooses to be more in the shadows and kind of lurking and hunting and following around his adversaries before attacking them in full-fledged force, power, whatever. And I chose this base specifically to kind of fit that, because it's kind of got, like, you know, the kind of hand gestures to kind of indicate that that is what his character is like he's more I don't really know the best way to describe it. That's just kind of how I imagined his character doing, like the hands, kind of like what Scarlet Witch does in the MCU with her hands, just kind of the hand gestures to kind of portray just energy or power, something like that. I don't really know the best way to describe it, but I do think the pose is very, very cool. And so and Paradox is probably one of my favorite ones, if not my favorite one that I've done. I think just the pose is really great, the colors look really good, and just the kind of glow in his forearms and underneath his gloves, I think looks really cool. And obviously the lighting was a little bit strange because there's not really a light source that's coming anywhere, because obviously it's just a normal background, but overall I think it does look very, very good, and I like how it turned out. So without further ado, again, here is Paradox. Alright, so the third character I did was Phoenix, and Phoenix is actually one of the best looking ones in my opinion, just because I think the base fits really well with how my art style actually kind of looks, because I think the proportions are very similar to how I would draw her. And that's in part due to the fact that on the base that I chose, which is just kind of a standard pose, it's not very dramatic or extravagant or anything like that, but the head, especially on this base, is quite a bit larger than is proportionately, or it should proportionately look, and I think that adds to just kind of it looking more natural for my specific style. Because obviously I draw my characters' heads quite a bit larger than they should be, and that just kind of allows for more expressive faces and things like that. I don't really know why I draw heads larger than they should be, but I don't know. It's just something that has developed in my art style, and this base kind of actually helped with making this one look probably really good. I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but I do think it's the best looking out of the four. As far as just colors go, lighting, the flames, which you see me drawing here, end up looking really cool in my opinion. And obviously they're orange, and that kind of makes it hard to show the lighting on the skin, but overall I do think that it turned out really well. And I hope you guys do too. So it's just, I think this one is probably, again, the best looking out of the four, but you guys can tell me which one you think is the best looking in the comments. And without any other, I don't think I have anything else to add, so here you guys have Phoenix. Alright, and this last one is TM, and this was probably the one that I was most nervous about, but most excited about as well, because of the kind of perspective shot that we have here. I chose this kind of Iron Man-esque looking pose, and obviously I think it could be used for just any kind of flying superhero. But it looks, just kind of like the stiffness of the character in the flight position looks a lot like Iron Man, and obviously TM is based heavily off of Iron Man, so I think I decided that one would probably fit his character the best. So I think this one was probably the hardest yet most fun of the four for me to actually do, which I had a lot of fun with Paradox as well. He was probably the second most fun, but this one was just kind of experimentation with this kind of perspective. I've never really tried doing perspective like this in a drawing before, and I think this was a really good, doing this art challenge, like self-challenge, was actually a really good way for me to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and just kind of try new poses, more dynamic stances and things like that. So I do think that this one turned out looking really good. Obviously the color scheme is very simple, but I do like the glowing effects that you'll see in a minute. I think they ended up looking really good, and just the flames or the afterburners, I guess, on his boots look really cool. And overall, I do really like how this one turned out, and I hope you guys do too, because this one looks pretty cool in my opinion. And I did save this one for last for that reason. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say, so here is TM. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I will flash all 4 of the finished products on screen now. And overall, I think that all of these turned out really, really well. I'm very happy with how each of these turned out, and I do think I improved as I went along. As I said in Matchsticks, I think his looked the most kind of off or wonky, and that's partially due to the proportions that I was not used to, and also just kind of getting into the rhythm of doing this kind of challenge. I was just kind of trying to have fun with it, but also trying to make them look as good as possible. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I know I sure did. And let me know which one of these is your favorite, because I think Paradox is probably my favorite, but yeah, you guys can let me know which one is yours in the comments below. And without, I think that's all I have to say. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't, leave a like on the video if you liked it, a dislike if you didn't, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.